Hi, I'm Tammy, and I am the Keto Cricket. Hi, it's me, Keto Cricket, and today we're gonna make that pecan butter that we used on those zucchini pancakes. This will be a super short video because this recipe is easy peasy. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 pound of pecans. These are the pecan halves because these are literally the cheapest ones that I can find. I actually can get these on either Amazon or Walmart.com. They're the same price. They're about $11 per pound. Some light salt, because I like to add the light salt to my nuts to add some potassium. And I like to use sea salt. You can use the Himalayan pink salt as well. And then optional would be any other seasonings you want. So if you want to add a sweetener, you can. Right now I'm not doing sweeteners because we're still on the no sweetener challenge. Or you could do cinnamon or any other spices or flavors depending on how you want. So the first thing we're going to do, pretty simple, we're going to take our bag of pecans and we're going to open it up and dump it out. It's really complicated. If you want, I can show this again in slow motion in case you missed that, because, you know, it's pretty hard. So we're going to just make sure it's kind of even and spread out. You can use a parchment paper if you don't have a non-stick pan. I always use stoneware. And sometimes I use a parchment paper because then it just makes it a little bit easier to pour into the food processor, which is what we're going to use to make the nut butter. But you don't have to. So we're going to roast these in the oven at 400 degrees for anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. So we'll kind of check on them and see how they look. So this is what they should look like. I hope it kind of shows up, but basically these are going to be really hard. I'm going to probably burn myself. Yep. So they should look like they're almost starting to turn black, and they'll kind of glisten a little bit as well, because they'll start to release the oils, which is why we roast them, because we want them, once we put them into the beautiful food processor over there, we want them to actually start going down. So next we're going to actually start scooping them and feeding them into the food processor, but I'll kind of show you that real quick. So this is just a cheap Walmart food processor. It's not super fancy. I think I got it for like $35 at Walmart a few years ago now. But I have the top blade set up to the slice. So the perforations, you can kind of see those in there. Those are facing down. And then I have the mixing blade down here as well. So this I'm gonna pour them in up top here. And I'll kind of show you this, but I'm gonna mute it because it's super loud. So I kind of want to explain the process. So I'm gonna slowly dump everything into the food processor. Once I get all of the nuts in, we're gonna add a tablespoon of salt altogether. So it's gonna be a half a tablespoon of the sea salt and then a half a tablespoon of the light salt. And at that time, you would also add any other seasonings you wanted, but you'll do that once you get all of the nuts in to the food processor, and then we'll kind of watch it go from solid to like a almond meal, and then it'll get finer and finer until it eventually becomes liquid. And you can process it for as long as you want. So if you like a crunchier nut butter, then you just don't process it as long. So you can kind of see what it looks like right now. This is really hot, so I will caution you guys, the nuts and everything, they just came out of the oven. I did cook them for about 14 minutes, but all of these pieces are going to be super, super hot, including that metal disc that's in here that we're going to actually take out. So just kind of be aware of that. So I'm going to take this out. So another tool you also want to have with you is a scraper. I'm using a Christmas one because that's what I grabbed. But this is going to be super hot. I and I don't know of another way to really grab it, unfortunately. So be careful, because this will burn you. I have no feeling in my hands, so it's all good. And you're going to scrape the sides down here. So you can see it's not as full as it like looks. It's kind of deceptive. And then I do try to go around the edges down here and just kind of push it all down. And you can see it's basically almond meal right now. Right? Okay. Which is, you know, delicious. Almond meal is good. So the next step is going to be to add our salt. So we're going to pour that in there. And then just simply to put everything back together. And I'll give you a close-up of what it looks like inside of the machine here. So you're just going to stop here intermittently and scrape those sides back down. So you can see there's actually quite a bit of movement now in here. It almost looks like a beautiful golden river, right? So we're going to do one more final scrape. So I kind of watch this center line here and look for, because that's where your kind of your chunks will be. And I like that to be, I like a creamy, pretty thin pecan butter. But like I said, if you want it chunkier, you just wouldn't process it as long. So you just can kind of scoop it, stir it around. It's going to thicken up a little bit more once it cools off. So kind of be aware of that as well. So if you pull it in because you like it chunky, but you get it really too thin, just remember it is going to thicken up even more once it cools down. But you can see the oils actually are starting to separate, and it's pretty liquidy. Kind of show you that. See how it just kind of pours? I like mine, like I said, pretty smooth, so I'm going to give it just probably another minute. Alright, so here we have our gorgeous, beautiful, tasty, delicious pecan butter that is phenomenal. Again, remember, these metal pieces are going to be super hot. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Ugh, it's so delicious too. So, and you can use this just like you'd use any other butter. So you can use this to make fat bombs with. You can make them, you can use this to dip your celery in. And just lots of other things. Just want to get all that out. And that's it, guys. Have a great day.